خودش رو کوچک نکنه و کوچکی از اولاد باشه. این کبوتری که پر و بالش رو میگستراند. اما چرا آقازاده و خانم کوچولویی که الان در منزل هستی دارم این نکته رو عرض میکنم. مثلا پدر ما
Dear viewers, brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to another episode of this exclusive season of Ahkam SOS, where we are live from the holy land of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and his beloved brother Abil Fadl Abbas alayhim afdal salatu wassalam. And as you all know, this show is dedicated to discuss Islamic do's and don'ts and to be answering all of your questions, inshallah. You can send in your questions via WhatsApp or the YouTube comments, or you can give us a call via the numbers presented to you on the screen. But before we get into that, I am your host Musa Ali, and I would like to introduce our honorable guest, Sheikh Ali Maash. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
Wa alaikum
How are you
assalam
tonight?
wa rahmatullah.
Inshallah, well.
Alhamdulillah.
Allah yahfukum,
Allah
inshallah.
malik.
Sheikhna, we have just one question from yesterday's episode. It's from YouTube, and it says, can a woman get into the lift and there is only a man in it? So they are alone, just her and the man.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى أخيك أبي الفضل عباس ورحمة الله وبركاته. Before I answer this question, there are daily du'as in the month of Ramadan.
Correct.
From day 1 till the 30th day. No more than 2 lines, very short du'as, but filled with knowledge, with wisdom, with spirits, and so forth. I chose today's du'a, the second day of du'a, which says, Allahumma qarribni fihi ila mardatik. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to get us closer to His mardat and satisfaction. In other words, we ask Allah Azza wa Jal that we reach that stage in which we gain Rida Allah Azza wa Jal. In the Holy Quran we have this verse, وَرِضْوَانٌ مِنَ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرُ. The greatest gift that Allah could give to an individual would be His Ridwan. And that's felt, it's not something materialistic. Jannah is great, of course. But the Ridwanullah is the top, and is the real end of the best masterpiece that Allah could give to an individual. That's what we say in the Quran, for example. It mentions radiyallahu anhu or ridwanullah. So that's the ridwan and rida Allah Azza wa Jal, most important, as some ulama mentions, than paradise. Paradise is a gift of the mu'min for his good deeds, but the ridwan is important, and you can feel that ridwan if inshallah one goes to the paradise.
Ilahi ameen, Ilahi ameen.
Then it says, وَجَنِّبْنِ فِيهِ مِنْ سَخَطِكَ وَنَقِمَاتِكَ.
Allah.
In the same time, I would ask Allah to prevent me from His anger and wrath. So, Ridwan in one side and wrath in the other side. So, I ask for His Ridwan, and I would ask not to basically
anger him,
exactly,
him angry,
and bring His wrath. Na'udhu billah.
Na'udhu billah.
Then I say in the dua, ask Allah Azza wa Jal, وَوَفِّقْنِ فِيهِ لِقَرَاءَةِ آيَاتِكَ. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal in this holy month to give me the tawfiq to recite His verses. Because the holy Ramadan, month of Ramadan, is the spring of the Holy Quran. So we actually use this opportunity in this holy month to recite the Holy Quran, to gain the knowledge from the Quran, to gain the blessings from the Holy Quran.
And initially to gain the ghufran and the ridwan of Allah.
Exactly. And then says, برحمتك يا رحمن الرحيمين, the merciful, Allah the most merciful, in which we ask Him all these hajat. Yes, in terms of the being in the lift with opposite gender, some ulama consider that as an isolated or khalwa. And to be in seclusion or khalwa is not permissible with the opposite gender who is not your mahram. In this case, yes, some would consider this as khalwa, and one should avoid being in that. Even if it's a few seconds, one should avoid it. To be in that secluded place with opposite gender.
So does this ruling oblige to whether a person feared if there's any unnecessary thoughts or any haram thoughts? If he didn't have that fear, is it still haram to be, or some maraji' say haram and some maraji' don't? Would it still be considered haram?
You see, the issue of khalwa has been agreed by the ulama, that to be in a closed doors location, let's say a bedroom, for example, or even a house where there's no access from the outside to this house or to this flat or to this bedroom or to this location, office sometimes, you know. So that would also count as seclusion and khalwa, which is forbidden. So either somebody else should be with them, a third person, because there's some statements mentions that the third with those two individuals who are not mahram from opposite gender would be the shaitan.
Allah.
And we've seen Surah Yusuf alayhi salam, that she tried to, na'udhu billah, attract Yusuf, but of course he was a prophet, and Allah Azza wa Jal protected him and saved him.
I believe we have a call for the first call for the night. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. I believe the line was disconnected. We have a few questions that have come in. Are same gender relationships halal?
You know, the person should define the meaning of same gender relationship. Is it just a friendship? We have friendship, alhamdulillah, with the other brothers and mu'mineen. Let's say we go to gatherings in the mosque, in the centers, in the majalis, in the cafes, restaurants, we invite each other. That's fine. But a relationship in which is immoral, of course, that's forbidden and not accepted at all.
Thank you very much. We have a question from WhatsApp. It says, is there any restriction for women to wear trousers having a long bottom so that it can come under our feet?
You see, one of the ulama mentioned when he was asked about this mas'ala of wearing trousers, you know, wide enough, that we don't have hijab that comes as with trousers. What we have, the hijab, is the wide garments, like we have chad or abaya, mantu, and whatever you want to call it. But because to reveal one's the female's legs and feet size, that's an issue in which they try to prevent. So we have to see, to be honest, if it's really protects, provides a secured hijab for the sister or not, in terms of the trousers.
Thank you very much. We have a question. It says that at what age fasting becomes obligatory upon an individual?
In the holy month of Ramadan, like other ibadat, if somebody is, let's say, sane, Muslim, the one who has reached, let's say the females reached the age of, in completing the age of 9 lunar calendar or the Hijri calendar, and entering into the 10th year, of course, all the ibadat will be wajib on this little girl, let's say, who now she becomes wajib on her to perform these ibadat. For the boys, of course, there are signs that they have to observe. If they see those signs, of course, they have reached the age of bulugh and adolescence, in which they have to start fasting and praying as well, wajib. Or to complete, I think, the age of 15 and so forth, if they can't see these signs as a result. Sometimes a child could become adolescent in the age of 13. I think we had this in Britain 20 years ago, that the youngest dad in Britain was only 13.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So, yes, one can reach to this stage of puberty or the adolescence, bulugh, in this young age. So if they have reached to the stage, of course, the salah and all the ibadat will become wajib on them.
Bali, thank you very much. It says, how do we make the intention or niyyah for fasting?
Of course, the niyyah for the fasting should be to seek nearness to Allah Azza wa Jal. Qurbatan Allah Ta'ala. Every ibadah you need getting that nearness to Allah Azza wa Jal with the intention of qurbah to Allah Azza wa Jal, because it's ibadah, it's worship. One cannot make the intention of losing weight to fast this month.
But
you have to have the main intention, the main reason for fasting is to get you close to Allah Azza wa Jal. Qurbatan ila Allah Ta'ala. Yes, I'm thinking as well, it's a good opportunity in this month to lose weight. But the priority is that I do this to obey Allah Azza wa Jal. As mentioned in the Holy Quran, Kutiba alaykum as-siyam. So I'm trying to fulfill Allah's duties.
So the primary intention is to seek for closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Thank you very much. It says that, are there any different ways in which we can make the niyyah or intention of fasting?
Yes, the intention can be done every night of the month of Ramadan. So let's say from tonight you can have, after you had, let's say, your suhoor, you make the intention before the Fajr adhan to fast the following day. That should be fine. So you do it for each night. Or you could do this on the first night of the month Ramadan, that I fast the whole month. So you don't have to worry about renewing your niyyah and intention every night.
Thank you very much. It says that, what is the time for the intention for the month of Ramadan?
The intention begins at night till Fajr adhan. So you have to make sure that you've made your intention just before the adhan of Subh, because otherwise you'll have a problem with your fast, because the fast is ibadah, and the time for this ibadah is from Fajr till Maghrib Shar'i time. You can't miss any of this segment of the ibadah, because we divide it from Fajr till Maghrib. That all this should be with one intention of fasting. You can't have, you can't separate them. You can't separate the intention. That I'll make the intention in the morning. No, you have to make sure that it's done before Fajr.
Thank you very much. And it says, if one sleeps before the Fajr adhan without making the niyyah of fasting and wakes up before noon and makes the niyyah, is his fast still valid?
This happens sometimes in the beginning of the month, when somebody doesn't know if tomorrow is the first day of the month Ramadan. It happens sometimes that they wake up in the morning and they hear the news that today is the first day and they never knew about it. Yes, in this case, they can make the intention from the morning and the fast is valid as well, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. It says, if the month of Ramadan is ascertained and established by one's marja' or his wakil representative, but not by the marja' that I follow, do I make the niyyah to fast the month of Ramadan, or do I wait until my marja' announces the onset of the month?
You see, in terms of sighting the moon, if you can see yourself, as I've said before, that if you can sight the moon yourself and you have the knowledge, the size of the moon, let's say the crescent, the thickness, the length, the position in the sky, you can start fasting without going back to anybody. Or if you see two adil mu'min individuals came to you and they said, well, we saw the crescent, the hilal, you can start fasting tomorrow. But because we rely on our maraja offices, because of they have reliable individuals they trust, who they would go and on behalf of the mu'minin and mu'minat, and they do the sightings, and of course we go back to our maraja and we ask for the announcements about the next day, if it's Eid or the first day of the month of Ramadan.
Thank you very much. And it says, an individual who cannot fast, or if fasting is very difficult because of old age, or it causes sickness or anything, is fasting obligatory upon him or her?
Well, fasting is not obligatory or wajib for this individual because of their age, but it becomes mandatory and wajib for this individual to pay fidya for each day they couldn't fast and that's the fidya is like 750 grams of let's say wheat food in overall to the poor. For every day they couldn't fast. Otherwise they don't have to fast because it's not wajib for them. The man or the woman is 80, 90. They can't bear hunger and thirst the whole day.
Thank you very much. We have a question from WhatsApp. It says, Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah. My question is, can someone not eat as suhoor, or is it obligatory to eat something?
No, suhoor is something recommended for the one to eat, but you cannot eat the suhoor, and if you can actually, that's fine, there's no issue with it. But it's better recommended to eat something.
We have another question from WhatsApp. It says, it takes me 30 plus minutes to do ghusl. This is normal, or am I being too careful?
Well, we have what is known as the obsessiveness or waswasa, in which a man came to Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, and he said that I have a friend who is aqil, who is a wise person, but his waswas, he would, let's say, for example, repeats his wudu many times, or and so forth. The Imam said that, go and tell him that, is this from the shaitan? And he will tell, yes, it's from the shaitan. So obsessiveness and waswas is from the shaitan, according to this hadith. So one should ignore whatever he hears or imagines. You have to ignore. Just carry on with the wudu quickly and leave. The same thing with ghusl. Ghusl takes no more than max 10 minutes. If you want to basically do the wajib ghusl, for example, say 15 minutes, not 30 minutes. You're wasting lots of water and time and nerve as well. So best thing to cut the timing, and as long as you have done the ghusl, especially with those today's showers, strong showers, you don't have to basically waste much time on the ghusl. A few minutes would do so.
Thank you very much. We have another question from WhatsApp. It says, while fasting, can a husband and wife have physical contact, such as kissing, or is that forbidden?
You see, we have some of the makruhat for the sa'im, so one should avoid these acts. What is haram is the intercourse, the actual physical intercourse. But these acts one should prevent, because these are the keys towards other acts, as a result. So one should prevent them. And you have the night, after Maghrib and Iftar, أُحِلَّ لَكُمْ, as the Quran mentions, الرَّفَثْ إِلَى نِسَائِكُمْ. So you can do so at night. So have some, that's one of the wisdoms of fasting, that you control your desires in the daytime. If you're a smoker, you have to stop smoking for 16 hours, 17 hours. If you have a wife and so forth, or husband, to stop that intimacy and so forth. And likewise other acts, eating, drinking, for example. So one should have some patience and observe some patience in this holy month.
Inshallah. Thank you very much. I have a question also from YouTube. It says, sometimes scholars say Prophet Muhammad was shaheed. How come there is no talk about it? Who killed him, etc.?
We have been saying this for a long time, the ulama in their books. If you go back to the Holy Quran, when it says أَفَإِن مَاتَ أَوْ قُتِلَ إِنْقَلَبْتُمْ أَفَإِن مَاتَ أَوْ قُتِلَ. Allah does not hesitate in the Quran. I could hesitate, yes or no, I'm not sure. But Allah doesn't hesitate. أَفَإِن مَاتَ, rather, بَلْ قُتِلَ. Indeed he was killed.
Allah.
Even the Ahlul Sunnah believe that he was killed by a poison given in Khaybar by a Jewish woman to test if he's a prophet or not prophet, and so forth. So, yes, we believe he was killed, he was martyred, he's shaheed, of course, but with a different story than what the Ahlul Sunnah narrates about the woman in Khaybar with the poison. It was a different poison, just before his death. On his deathbed, yes.
Thank you very much. We have another question from WhatsApp. It says, can you please clarify the steps of ghusl?
The ghusl, basically, you have two types of ghusl. To immerse inside or dive inside the water with the intention of the ghusl. So your entire body should be inside the water, inside the pool, with the intention of ghusl al-wajib. That's done. But the ghusl tartibi, you have to start, of course, with the intention of ghusl. and then you start washing your head, and then your neck, and then your right side body, and then the left side of the body, both sides,
Brilliant.
front and back.
Brilliant.
And that's the ghusl done.
Okay.
As simple as that.
Thank you very much. We have another question. It says, is the fasting of the month of Ramadan obligatory for a pregnant or a breastfeeding woman?
It's not obligatory or wajib for these types of conditions for the ladies who are pregnant or breastfeeding, if that would cause harm to the woman or to her baby, for example.
Brilliant.
Even if she's breastfeeding, then she could have less milk as a result of fasting. It's not wajib for her to fast in this situation. But for for every day that she has to pay fidya, as I've said, 750 grams of let's say wheat and food and so forth.
Brilliant.
But what happens if she was pregnant on the first year? Let's say this month she's pregnant, she can't fast.
Brilliant.
In 6 months' time, she has a baby, newborn baby, and she's breastfeeding this baby until the next month of Ramadan. So she missed even the qada, and to make up this year's month of Ramadan.
Brilliant.
And next year, the month of Ramadan, she couldn't fast as well because of breastfeeding. In this situation, she has to pay 2 fidya, one for not fasting and one for not able to perform the qada of the past of Ramadan. So it becomes 2 fidya. So 1.5 kilograms of wheat and food and so forth for each day.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. We have a question from WhatsApp. We have from WhatsApp, I believe. If a woman gets her period after Salat al-Dhuhr, can she break her fast, or should she continue fasting?
Even minutes before the Maghrib time, if she gets that and comes, khalas, her fast is void and batil.
Bali.
Even just a few minutes before the Maghrib time, Adhan time.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a question. It says, what happens if the fasting individual unintentionally eats or drinks something?
Well, his fast or her fast would not be valid, would not become batil, because that was unintentional, as you mentioned in the question. So it should be fine.
Okay, thank you very much. We have another question. It says, if the fasting individual, deliberately swallows food that had remained between the teeth, what happens to his fast?
Well, his fast becomes invalidated and batil, because that's basically muftar. Even if it's a small piece of, let's say, bread or meat left between his teeth or her teeth, that of course counted as breaking your fast intentionally.
Bari, thank you very much. Before we continue with the questions, brothers and sisters, I would like just to remind you that you can send in your questions via WhatsApp or the YouTube comments, and give us a call, and inshallah we'll be at your service and answering all of your calls, inshallah. Thank you very much. We have another question from WhatsApp. It says, can I give charity on behalf of my non-Muslim family? Charity
is good to be given to the even non-Muslims, if you like, you know. Whoever is in need of, let's say, food, drink, clothing, and so forth. But in terms of, if he means that I give sadaqah on behalf of non-Muslim, let's say, parents, for the thawab, that's in the, let's say, بيد Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah would actually the one who would, take these a'mal. But in anyhow, giving is very important to the Muslim and non-Muslim, because to help somebody who is in need of food and drink and clothing, that would, of course, be the human side or the human factor of an individual. So yes, one can actually give sadaqah to the one who is in need in overall.
Thank you very much. We have another question from YouTube. It says, can you please say again what surah the speaker mentioned regarding shahadat of Prophet Muhammad?
I can't remember. If you type in Google, أفإن مات أو قتل, if you know the Arabic language, I think it would come up, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you very much. We have another question from WhatsApp. It says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I am 17. Should I start reading hadith?
You see, the age, you see, initially, we have a hadith which says, طلب العلم فريضة على كل مسلم, that to gain knowledge is a duty upon every Muslim, male or female. You have to get at least, to know at least what is needed in your daily life. When it comes to ahkam of salah, how do I pray exactly? Ahkam al-wudu, how do I do the wudu correctly? Ahkam as-sawm, basic ahkam that you have to know them, for example. You should know these. When it comes to other aspects of religion, hadith, for example, tafsir, these are top and surplus, or let's say credits over gaining more knowledge, which is good, and of course I would encourage it. If you can actually read them, of course, we have to, in this age, of course, have a teacher who you can go back to and ask for the meanings of some hadith, because some hadith are a bit, you know, you need somebody who knows the tafsir and the meanings of the hadith.
Thank you very much. We have another question. It says, if one Shia say Ya Ali Madad in India at the time, very same time, some other Shia say Ya Ali Madad in Brazil, how can Imam Ali alayhi salam attend both of them at the same time? Are we not attaching the attributes of Allah to Imam Ali? Are we not committing shirk? Also, Madad is not Arabic or Farsi word, it is Urdu word. So I think this Ya Ali Madad is invented by Indian or Pakistani Shias.
Well, if this is shirk, how come that Isa alayhi salam in the Holy Quran, he raises the dead? Or cures leopard, for example. Or, for example, he creates a bird. How come? It's all bi'idhnillah. Allah gives some of this unseen knowledge to those who deserve it, like Isa alayhi salam. And he says, after each act, bi'idhnillah, bi'idhnillah, bi'idhnillah. Why not? Allah would give some of his knowledge to some people who deserve it, who they have the capability of receiving this unseen knowledge. Why not? Madad Ali is not something that is a shirk or something that is. No, we ask you know, the Imam because he has connection with Allah Azza wa Jal. وَابْتَغُوا إِلَيْهِ الْوَسِيلَةِ. Allah says in the Quran that if you want to come to me, seek the means towards me. Wasila, means. Sometimes it's Quran. Sometimes it's, we go to the Baytullah al-Haram. You know, we kiss the Kaaba, we kiss the black stone. That's a wasila to Allah Azza wa Jal, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
So the Quran, we put the Quran on our heads in the nights of Qadr. Bika ya Allah, bika ya Allah. You know, we ask Allah with the greatness of this Quran, for example, and so forth. So we have to understand the correct aqeedah before we actually try to raise these issues, because these would affect, you know, in terms of the aqaid, makes the aqaid weakened. No, we can't say Ya Ali Madad or ask the Imam for hajat, because they are the means to Allah Azza wa Jal. Because Ali alayhi salam is Abdullah, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In the salah, what we say every day, وَأَشْهَدُ أَنَّهُ عَبْدُهُ وَرَسُولُهُ. Isn't it? Abduhu. He is abd first, then he's a messenger of Allah Azza wa Jal. He's a slave of Allah, then he's a messenger. But Allah gives those prophets, you know, the ma'ajiz and the miracles, so that it would be a way and a method to guide humanity with these ma'ajiz and great status and knowledge and abilities.
Thank you very much. We have another question from YouTube. It says, if we have qada prayers, can they count towards the 1,000 recommended rak'at for the month of Ramadan?
There's no connection at all. You have to pray your salah that you've missed for the past years one by one. Otherwise, if somebody wants to, you know, let's say, do wasiyah if they are old and they can't finish the a'mal, they have to do write a will with this regard. So you must finish your salawat that you've missed one by one.
Thank you very much. We have another YouTube from questions. Assalamu alaikum. This is Jawad Ahmed from Sirgan, Kashmir. I like your live Ahkam program. Thank you very much, brother. But one thing, please launch Imam Hussein TV English on Yahsat 52 degree east. Inshallah, brother. Thank you very much. We'll keep that in mind. We'll stay in contact with the brothers in London office, and inshallah, we'll see what we can do. Thank you very much. We have another question. It says, does swallowing the saliva that accumulates in the mouth invalidates one's fast?
Saliva wouldn't break one's fast. No, it should be fine. One can swallow it. That's fine. Yeah.
Belly. Thank you very much. It says, we have another question via YouTube. Are us Shia and Sunni supposed to look at each other as one ummah, or should we look to each other as we're divided?
You see, we are one ummah when it comes to facing the enemy. The enemy in which wants to destroy and invade the Islamic countries, and they tries to invade the Muslims with all types of tools that they use to destroy the Islamic, and they did so for the past centuries. They invaded many countries, and they brought such ruthless and oppressive rulers and dictators, sadly, as a result. So we stand as one ummah, of course, to defeat such invasions. But when it comes to the dialogue or the debates about the aqidah, of course, we sit down, we talk, and I have my own aqidah, and you have your own aqidah. And we respect each other, and we try to observe and preserve our own aqidah and to show it as well, without any fear. Why not?
Thank you very much. We have another question. It says, can a fasting individual break his fast on grounds of weakness?
One may not break his fast on the grounds of weakness unless the weakness is so much that one cannot bear it. So they would faint, for example, vomit too much, they need hospital treatment, for example, and so forth. In this case, there's no objection to break the fast.
Thank you very much, Sheikh. We have another question. Can one smoke while fasting?
Well, as ihtiyat wujubi, or the obligatory precaution, one should not allow thick smoke or dense steam to reach one's throat, such as cigarettes, shisha, other types of, let's say, thick dust. We mentioned this thick dust last night. So yeah, one should avoid reaching such substances inside the throat as a result.
Thank you very much. We have a question from WhatsApp. It says, is it permissible to wear clothes that have pictures of intoxicating drinks as a promotion for drinking them? Is it permissible to sell such items?
You see, the ulama mention anything that promotes the batil, the falsehood is forbidden. I think there's a mention, ayah in the Holy Quran, about ta'awun al-ithm, that do not participate in spreading ithm, ta'awun al-ithm wal-udwan. So try not to participate in spreading, let's say, na'udhu billah, pornography or other types of indecent movies and materials and photos and so forth. One should avoid it. You're not allowed to promote falsehood and batil.
Thank you very much. Before we continue, brothers and sisters, I would like to remind you once again that please do send in your questions via WhatsApp. Throw them in the comment section on YouTube, or just give us a call via the numbers presented to you on the screen below, and inshallah we'll be at your service in answering all of your questions and inquiries, inshallah. And thank you very much. We have another question, Sheikhna. It says, if one who is engaged in salah and does not reply to the person who said salam to him, would his salah be invalid?
You see, one of the wajib acts is to reply to the salam of the one who says salam. To start the salam, of course, it's mustahab to say salam to the people around you. We have the narrations, ifsha'u salam, it's mustahab to say salam. And the one who says salam, he initiates the salam, he will get 69 hasana and rewards. And the one who replies, he gets only one. So 70 in total, 69 for the one who starts the salah, the salam, and the one who replies, you get one hasana. In salah, if somebody was, let's say, in a room and someone comes and says Assalamu alaikum in salah, wajib on you, who are you praying in the salah, let's say you're saying Iyaka na'budu, Iyaka nasta'in, and someone said Assalamu alaikum, you have to stop the verse and say Assalamu alaikum, and then continue Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim to the end of the salah, dhikr and verses. So it's wajib to reply, otherwise it would be a sin, disobedience if you didn't reply. But the salah is valid and sahih, there's no issue with it.
Thank you very much. So if someone says Salamun alaikum, does the person that is praying, does he have to reply with the same thing as he said, or can he just say alaikum assalam?
It's better to say Assalamu alaikum, the same. Yes, yes.
Okay, Bali. Thank you very much. We have another question. It says, if a junub, i.e. one who is in the state of janaba, deliberately does not perform the ghusl wash until the fajr adhan in the month of Ramadan, would his fast still be valid?
One of the, I think mentioned yesterday as well, about the mubtalat al-siyam, that invalidates the fast, is to remain in the state of janaba from the sahar time till the fajr time. And that would cause that day to be batil, and the one should repeat and make it up later after the holy month of Ramadan. Yes.
Bali. Thank you very much. We have a question from YouTube. It says, anesthesia injection for eradication of teeth during fasting. So, as if like, would it invalidate the fast or not?
The injections would not invalidate the fast in overall, except the one I mentioned, the enema. The injection of liquid from the lower part of the body inside the stomach, that would invalidate. But other than that, any injections wouldn't invalidate, unless if that injection would have some kind of liquids that goes through the throat. Of course, that would.
Bali. Thank you very much. We have another question from YouTube. It says, how can us, younger generation of the Ummah, help to strengthen us as a whole against those who wish to oppose the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Very beautiful question, by the way.
And there's a beautiful answer for that,
MashaAllah,
in which the Prophet ﷺ mentioned this, and it's a very famous hadith in the books of the Shia and the Ahlul Sunnah, that I leave two weighty and unnecessary things: Kitabullah, the book of Allah, and my progeny, وَعِتْرَةِ أَهْلِ بَيْتِي.
Allah.
Stick with them and you will be a winner in dunya and akhirah.
Inshallah. MashaAllah. Thank you very much. May Allah keep us on the path of Ahlul Bayt. We have another question from YouTube. It says, are Sunni our brother in faith or brother in humanity?
على كل حال, we have to see in terms of the brotherhood, because you see we have Muslim and Mu'min. A Muslim is a Muslim who believes in the Shahadatain, but the Mu'min is the more akhas, that a'am, more general, that a Muslim, when he says the two Shahadatain, of course he's a Muslim, we can eat his zabiha. If he slaughters animals, we can eat them, you know, the Shar'i slaughtering, marriage, everything becomes halal as a result in terms of the marriage proceedings or the slaughterings of animals and so forth. But the Mu'min is the more stage of Iman, in which the one who has the wilayah of Ahlul Bayt. So the Shahada Thalitha, who has the Shahada Thalitha, would be closer, of course, would be the true brother in Islam. The true brother is the one who believes in the Shahada Thalitha, the third Shahada, and wilayah of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam.
Thank you very much. And in regards to this question, can one marry from another sect? So like a Shia marries from a Sunni, or a Sunni marries from the Shia? Yes,
we have families, you know, especially in Iraq, in Baghdad, who are married from different sects. You know, the Shi'i marries Sunni, or the vice versa. You know, they would exchange, you know, in terms of marriages. We have such marriages, of course. What is important that when, let's say, a woman who's a Shi'i marries a Sunni, that she shouldn't change her aqidah as a result, the influence of the husband. If that takes place, or she knows that, it's not allowed for her to marry this man who she might think that her aqidah might have to be changed in somehow.
Thank you very much. We have another question from YouTube. It says, is speaking against a tyrant Muslim rulers allowed in Shia Islam?
Allah Azza wa Jalla states in the Holy Quran, وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِمَا أَنزِلَ اللَّهُ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الظَّالِمُونَ.
Allahu Akbar.
Another ayah, هُمُ الْفَاسِقُونَ. Another ayah, هُمُ الْكَافِرُونَ. Allah is speaking against the zalim. Hakim zalim, whoever it is, Muslim or non-Muslim, that he is zalim, oppressor, he is fasiq, he is corrupt, and he's kafir, he is disbeliever.
Allahu Akbar.
Because of his disobedience of Allah Azza wa Jalla's hukum. لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ. That's in the Quran. If you have an issue, go back to the Quran. You'll find the answers there.
Inshallah. Thank you very much. We have another question via YouTube. It says, Assalamu alaikum, Shaykhna. What can you advise to a person who is facing extreme waswasa? I believe we talked about that earlier, such as waswasa in wudu, purification, namaz, and etc.
The ways that I know, two ways at least we can follow. Number one, to recite Surah Yasin every day. That would repel this, condition of waswasa. Surah Yasin every day.
MashaAllah.
One of the, ta'thir, the effects of this holy surah is to remove that waswasa. Number one. Number two is to ignore. If somebody tells you, you have to repeat your wudu, so I'm not going to repeat it. I did it well, perfect, and just to carry on with your salah and the rest of the work. So just ignore it.
Okay.
As I said, it's shaitan who's playing with your mind, as the Imam said, Salamullah alayhi.
Salamullah alayhi. We have another question via YouTube. It says, Assalamu alaikum. If Maghrib begins with the redness in the eastern sky, disappears overhead, how do we determine this, i.e. where the eastern sky is? Is it opposite the direction, excuse me, is it opposite of the direction of sunset at all time?
You see, you have to go back to the experts with this regard when it comes to defining Fajr, because we had this issue in the UK, even in the whole Europe, that we couldn't define exactly when the Fajr is because of the position of the Europe, North Europe specifically. And I was speaking to one of the experts over the phone just before the holy month, and he said that in the 90s, ulama went to speak to some of the experts with this regard in London, and they said to them, there's 6 Fajr in the UK, or in London at least. 6 Fajr times.
6 different Fajr times.
Exactly, because what we have here, let's say in Karbala or in the Middle East, we have 2 Fajr, Fajr al-Sadiq and Fajr al-Kadhib. Let's say the incorrect Fajr and the correct Fajr. So one comes initially, the Fajr al-Kadhib comes, and then Fajr al-Sadiq comes. So they couldn't define the exact time. That's why we have now differences in terms of the calendars, the prayer times in London or in the UK, or even in Europe. Some centers are different in 5-6 minutes with other centers. In terms of the Maghrib, in terms of the Fajr specifically, sometimes 15 minutes different. So we have to go back to the experts with this regard to find exactly the times in which we have to start, fasting and open our fast, or even the daily salah as well, because you can't rely on individuals with this regard. You have to go back to the experts.
Thank you very much. We have another question via YouTube. It says, can the word inshallah get to the state of having just the good rulers upon haqq, or that not until our Mahdi comes?
Anyhow, saying inshallah something is good, that I want to do something, I want to travel, inshallah I will travel next month. That would give ala kulli hal some kind of blessing, that you bring Allah's name in the middle for your acts and deeds and a'mal. For the Imam Salamullah, of course we don't have the timing, so we have to ask Allah Azza wa Jal every day, every salah, for ta'jil al-faraj. And as they mentioned in the narration, that afdal a'mal ummati intidhar al-faraj. Best deeds of my ummah and nation is to await his reappearance, inshallah.
Thank you very much. We have another question from YouTube. It says, Assalamu alaikum. Do you have to wear clothing below the knee, or is there no compulsory?
For the male, for the brothers, it's better to cover, in terms of, it's mentioned that to wear more clothes is even better. That's why we have, ulama would wear lots of clothes on top of their, the abaya, the qaba, and so forth. It's, to be covered is better than to be half, let's say, not half, what, 70% covered and 30% uncovered. So to be covered is better. Anyhow, yes.
Thank you very much. We have another question. It says, if a woman becomes tahir from her monthly cycle after the Fajr adhan, would her fast be valid on that day?
Again, her fast becomes void as a result. Because in that day she was still in that condition, so it becomes batil. Yes.
Bali. Thank you very much. We have another question. It says, what is the Islamic law about someone who cannot fast due to old age?
Again, I've mentioned this before, that if they can't fast, it's not wajib for them to fast, but they have to pay what is known as a fidya of 750 grams of, let's say, wheat and food and so forth to the poor. For each day they couldn't fast because of their old age.
Very. Thank you very much. We have another question. I believe it's the last question of the night. It says, some women adhere to total and complete hijab when outdoor and in public places. But when indoor at the relatives' homes, that is when within the confine of their family homes, they do not refrain from showing some of their hair, or they wear such garments that their forearms are revealed in the presence of their non-mahram relatives. Does looking at them without lust or pleasure is permissible?
Of course, it is not permissible for the non-mahram relatives to look at them. Sometimes, cousins. Oh, he's my cousin. We are from the same blood family and relationship, relatives. So no, she's your cousin, but haram to look, at her with lust and so forth, or to look at the other parts of the body if she's showing that. So that's important for the one to observe, especially within the family circles. Sometimes, as I've said, cousins and so forth would have such, sometimes they take it lightly, because he's my cousin, then I can be with him, let's say, in a secluded or khalwa, as I've mentioned. So one should avoid such looks or gazings as a result, because that would be counted as sin and haram.
Thank you very much, Sheikhna. May Allah bless you, inshallah. Brothers and sisters, we have come to the end of tonight's episode. Please do stay tuned for the upcoming episodes, for we are at your service accepting your questions via WhatsApp or the YouTube comments, or you can also give us a call via the numbers presented to you at the screen below. But for the time being, we have come to the end of tonight's show, and thank you very much for tuning in. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.